I'm calling this meeting to order. As Jordan noted, my email out said the Peninsulaires boar meeting.
Oh,
And so he sent a little clip of some wild boars running around. So,
oh, nice. Well, that sounds like us anyway, doesn't it?
yeah.
Just a bunch of porkers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the first thing is to accept the minutes for the August 6th meeting. Everybody have a chance to look at Paul's excellent minutes.
Move to accept.
A second.
All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that's done. And then we're so happy to have Dave Morley with us, interrupting his trans-US journey to give us the treasurer's report.
All right, here is the monthly summary, and not a whole lot of activity. We paid Chris twice for 2 learning tracks. We got all of about $10.50 in charity from PHS and from Google. And we did pay the digital accelerant, but I guess that's the last bill.
Yes.
The eVoice yearly renewal, if you know, we have a chapter phone, and that comes up for renewal, and it goes onto my credit card. So I paid myself $54.27. And then we prepaid, I sent a check off to Dave Kokert for Chris's coaching on September 8th. So, and if there's no questions on that, I'll go on to the next half of the treasurer's report.
Just want to comment, that seems like a real good deal for custom learning tracks.
Yeah.
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 Oh, it is. It's a wonderful deal. So this is as of the end of August. And we are probably right on, maybe a little low on dues. We have not had any performance fees. We're waiting, well, our spring show profit was way down, but we haven't gotten, obviously, the cabaret profit yet. So we budgeted 3,000 still to come in. I think the biggest issue in my mind is the fact that we don't have as many Google members as we used to. And and we're also low on Harmony Foundation. I will get one more check, I believe, which should bring us up, assuming we all donate to the Harmony Foundation. As far as
Is the Google members thing a thing that you could promote again with instructions in an email?
So we have 2, I think, at this point. Well, maybe down to there's like
that also goes for Facebook also, Mark. I believe Facebook also, but you have to do something with the company in order to record your time. I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, the guys who are the Googleites at this point are Mark Tabry and Blaise, and they both know and understand what they can and are able to do in terms of submitting information. And it has to do, part of it has to do with how things get qualified as a donating time to a charity or something. So a performance is considered different than a rehearsal or something like that. I don't know all the details, but those are the only 2 guys at the moment. There used to be 4 people at Google who were members of the Peninsulaires. 2 of them are no longer around. Mark is still a member of the Peninsulaires, but he hasn't been at rehearsals, or he comes to some performances, but not so many rehearsals. And Blaise has just started to pull back a little bit, though he's going to perform with this. So I can talk to both of them since I'll be seeing them again on Sunday to see if they can make sure that they, excuse me, Monday, if they can, if there's any time that they can record that they haven't recorded, to please do so.
Yeah,
And
and if I may, I think we should stop calling this the Google line item. Because for example, my company has matching donations to 501c3s. And I intend to get that set up and do that. Dave Morley, I need some of your help, and I just need to set up a call with you to get us registered on this external site. There are other chapters already like listed on this external site. So there's some sort of administrative process to get us listed, and then as soon as I do that and start, it's done in the form of cash donations, not volunteer time. But as soon as I do that, any donation I make gets 100% matched by the company up to $2,500. So
Yeah, that'd be
I think we should be not thinking of this as the Google line item. I think this is
Yeah.
the volunteer and dollar donation line item.
Right. Yeah, I can change that. It's, I have it listed as Benevity right now. But I can change it to,
That might be the same site that my company uses.
yeah, if it's Benevity, then it comes automatically to me or to the chapter with a donation automatically to our checking account. I don't even see it. It just shows up on our checking account. So if it's Benevity, Mike, all you need to do, I mean, I can talk to you about it, but all you need to do is the company, it's Benevity. And
Yeah,
we're
let's set up a half hour like offline and just plow through this. This is on
That's
my
fine.
list now. I don't want to get executing on it.
But well,
Okay.
it's not just you. So that's, my point is if there was instructions we can give to the whole chapter, there might be more people that work at companies that work with Benevity.
That's true.
Maybe that's
Right,
the thing we
right.
could just advertise to the chapter.
right.
Good
It's-
point.
It's matching funds and it's also time via Benevity.
Cool.
So moving on to expenses, any questions on that? We're a little over on coaching and
A little bit
We're
over on music and
over
tracks.
on music and learning tracks and otherwise. And as far as the bottom line goes, bottom line shows that for this year, we've lost about $7,500. Now, that does not obviously include the cabaret. So hopefully if we make 3,000 or so in the cabaret, that'll bring it down to 4,500.
So Dave, do you think that we need to bump up our cash situation by asking the guys to pitch in, say, an extra $100 a year?
I'm not, years ago, we used to have $6,000 to $8,000 and that certainly kept us going year to year to year. We now have around 15,000 in the bank. I don't know that we're ready to ask for donations yet. 15,000 is really a lot as far as being the chapter going. Unless we want to do something special, I don't see the need, but that's a board.
Okay. Anybody else? Paul, Larry?
Yeah, I got a question on the expenses. I've stacked up my receipts. I don't have a total yet for the set building equipment. We don't really have a budget for this thing because I don't think we've ever done it before. I just want to make sure that I'm not blindsiding Dave or anybody else when I submit.
Larry, I figured that would fall into set design for the show.
Well, we don't have a line item for that, but
No, but we have a line item for expenses for the fall show. And
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and-
for the fall show, yes.
yeah, for the, you know, for the cabaret. And so
Yeah.
send me, you know, and I figured there would be something there. And I was assuming that we would include whatever it costs to get the material for stage and props and all that sort of stuff. That
Okay.
would be part of the expenses associated with cabaret.
Okay.
Yes, I would put that as a negative for the cabaret profit.
Yeah. I'm listing up the expenses and the proposed
Right.
income. I've already got a spreadsheet started, which I'll share with you guys when we get to that in the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
My only other comment on the budget is that we have a lot of guys that are candidates that are not yet members. And one difference there is a difference to our income. We, you know, once they become a member, they start to pay annual dues. And I would just encourage that we maybe accelerate for the guys that we're pretty sure are going to pass their audition, or, you know, I don't know if we're encouraging them to stay in this candidate status for a very long time right now or not. I guess my point is also that they might stay in candidate status for most of a year and then drop out.
Yeah.
They got a lot of fun and they never paid. So I would rather see us, for guys that are going to be active members of the chorus, turn them into members.
Makes sense. Which raises a question from my side. Is the society now set up so that if a person becomes a member on the 1st of September, his year is September 1 to August 31st, or did they set things up so that everybody pays at the same time? You know, the year starts at the first of the year and they get a prorated amount of dues from September to the end of the year. Does anybody know?
I'm fairly sure it's based on when you.
Okay,
re-up.
good, good.
yeah.
So when we get a new guy who's set up like Skip or any of the other guys that we know are planning on joining, then that would get the full amount of dues for that. That's
Yeah,
good.
that's consistent with the idea that we keep reporting renewals every week throughout the
Right.
year.
Cool.
Right.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
speaking of Skip, though, are we going to vote on Skip today?
Yes, we are.
Okay,
Elliot isn't here, but the answer to that question is yes.
great. Okay, next is technology.
All right. No written report. I was gonna, but I got tired last night. First off, because I couldn't make it to rehearsal Thursday night, it was my first opportunity to join via Zoom. Over several weeks, and including before we transitioned to the new laptop that Mark Torrance gave us, I had been hearing from some of our visitors that the video was lousy or the audio was crummy. My session was as clean as it can be, considering that it is Zoom. For those of you interested in my weekly videos that I post on YouTube, this week's video was all from YouTube. And yeah, the video isn't very sharp, but it is what it is. And there were a few little bumps along the way with regards to audio, but it was more like a millisecond of silence or a click. Going forward, there's also been, this is regarding Zoom and utilizing projection at rehearsals. I've heard a few comments from members. I've noticed it myself because I pay attention to it probably more than I should during rehearsal. Instead of focusing on our directors, my eyes tend to drift towards the screen. You know, somebody logs in, I see they're not muted. I have to leave the risers and go mute them. So Dave Kay and I discussed the possibility of eliminating the use of the big projector screen. And I plan to do that for the next few weeks. We'll bring it back into play if the directors need me to present something to the chorus, or if we have a special visitor of some sort. It is a distraction with faces popping in and out. Guys writing chats that we can't respond to, all that kind of stuff pops up, and it causes, by nature, causes our eyes to go there. So unless anybody here disagrees with my direction here, I'm gonna pretty much stop using the projector screen.
So
Oh,
I
go
was
ahead.
going to suggest, I think I think it is important. Like, we have a pretty significant Zoom cohort. We're doing like 4 or 5 guys a week. I would like to figure out a way to make them feel still involved and for us to like be present. I'm sort of wondering what happens if we change the direction so that the projector is behind the risers. So like, instead of putting the projector, and this has always been a concern of mine, because I see it every time the eyes, everything is something happens on Zoom, all eyes go up there.
Yep.
What would it look like if we switched the location of the risers to be in front of the projector, where we would be performing to the audience as well at the cabaret? We don't have to necessarily decide that right now, but I think there is value in having, like, making those guys feel part of the performance, and that could get them more like feeling engaged, because they're not necessarily looking at the chorus, they're looking at the director. Something to think about.
So I don't know, Mike, that there's, Larry, if does the view from the camera appear on the screen like we have right here, so that the guys would see the chorus as one of the blocks of video? Okay,
Yes.
so
And one of the Dave, one
so
of the
that won't change if whether or not we're using the projector. It's gonna they'll see the same image because of so I don't know that having the projection on the white screen would have, or not, is gonna have any impact on the experience of the guys who are on Zoom.
Right.
The experience,
But we can still have the director being
Yes.
paying attention to what's going on Zoom, and without 40 guys, let's call it 40 guys now, having to like watch the Zoom, or like be distracted by the Zoom screen. Instead, it's only one who's already kind of dealing with rehearsal management.
Okay, understood.
another potential option is what I did at home Thursday night, which is I put it into put my screen into speaker view. So while I can still see the attendees in small tiles, the speaker view filled the screen with just the chorus, which would probably help with the visual distraction.
That's the same suggestion I was going to make, Larry.
That would be better.
I think it would be helpful for the chorus to see that as a mirror of ourselves too, because it might encourage us to perform more.
I kind of disagree with that, because the eyes are going to be up there even more. That's a good tool in the belt, but I don't know that's 100% tool in the belt.
So why don't we well, not this week, because we've got Chris Aber there this week, but starting 2 weeks from now, set the risers up so that they're facing the audience, and have and try what Mike is talking about, to have the screen there, but visible to the director, so that the director can see whether or not that has any enhanced value to what he's doing in the evening. Does that make sense, Larry?
I hear the idea. Don't know that I can actually do it, given the fact that the projector has to be a certain distance away from the screen to fill it, which would put it in front of the risers. If it was hung from the ceiling, I suppose that'd be a piece of cake, but I can't be hanging stuff from the Elks ceiling. Let me think it through. I might be able to come up with a different scenario. Maybe a screen on the side or something. But if we put the risers in front of the stage facing the tables, there's no practical or easy way to project to that screen behind the risers right now.
We could move the risers further away from the stage for purposes of rehearsal as opposed to where they would be during the performance.
We could bring them forward about 6 to 8 feet, and then we could use the projector.
Yeah,
Let's see how it plays. I expect that Thursday I will be there by 5:30 because I'm bringing props, and figuring out how to store this stuff safely. Let's see. Let's set up the risers that way for Thursday, and let's see what we can do with it.
cool.
I don't
would
think it'll
also
matter
point
whether
out-
we do it this week or next week. I think it's fine to give it a shot next week. I'll be there early enough to try it.
There are occasionally things that happen behind the risers now in the audience area, like people coming in late or people going and shuffling papers, and those will become the visual distractions if we're facing that way.
True. But it's like an audience.
So moving on with tech. You all know that we dropped the digital business cards. That kind of fell into my marketing and now transitioned marketing to Mark Torrance. We decided that the expense and the fact that we just weren't using it the way it was designed, it was best to cut our ties.
So does that mean now that if you go to that site, it's just not there, or what?
Yes,
That's
we've
correct.
canceled the account, so don't have anybody send a text to Sing at the number. It's gone.
Just when Dave had it memorized.
Yeah, yes, it took me weeks.
And we'll get back to physical business cards again. Mark is working on getting new cards done for us. Lastly, I'm beginning my research into working with an outfit or whatever. Got to find one that I like first for the live streaming possibilities. Dave K had brought it up a couple of months ago. Unfortunately, I lost the email, so he was able to send it to me again with a link that I believe BHS suggested.
Correct.
And what this is all about is these companies work with nonprofits, and they handle all the licensing. So if we want to get into a live streaming scenario, whether it be we could do it for rehearsals, we could do it for any performance. We don't have to worry about all the licensing copyright issues that we currently go through. So I'm digging deep into that to see whether it's going to be valuable for us going forward. And unless there's any questions.
Just really quick on the rehearsal streaming. I know that Ambassadors of Harmony is using Periscope, I believe. Sound of the Rockies is using Periscope, and I think at least one group is using Facebook Live for rehearsal streaming. So like, I would suspect this is a solved problem, because my sense is that they're not running through an external company to do stuff like that. So just be aware, like, I'm differentiating between like rehearsal streaming and performance streaming.
Understood. I don't particularly, I'm not really interested in live streaming rehearsals, but that's just my.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of,
my cloth is cut. I think, that should be for us and our members and our guests. I don't think we need to broadcast to the world, rehearsals anyway. But that's my thing. But that's all I got, unless there's any other questions or comments.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, Mark Torrance, marketing.
All right, let's see. So I'll share a screen here. I sent out the VP marketing report. And the basic gist of it is I have been doing some marketing each week on Facebook. Both, I ran an ad, which was pretty simple for the month, and I spent the $250 ad credit that I get from Facebook on that ad. And it didn't work great. It was okay. I think that we got, it was advertised only to people that don't already like our page. And it got 73 new page likes, which is kind of expensive per like. But the content of the ad was promoting people to come to rehearsal. And we did get, I think, one person that said that they came because of seeing it on Facebook. I don't know if they saw the ad or a post on the page. I've also been posting weekly on the page. Most recently, I did something that was like a pirate ship, and I hope people saw that. But those are mostly going to be seen by people that are already liking the Peninsulaires if we don't pay for the ads. I'm happy to continue to spend some of my monthly credit for this, like most of it. I do have a couple other people, like my ex-wife, asking for some of this to be used to promote their nonprofits. And so I will split it during the months of September and October. And I haven't started running the ads for September yet. But it's interesting to see kind of the stats that we get from this and the age distribution of the people that responded to it. I did target men only, and that's one of the nice things about Facebook is you can do that in a distance range from where we rehearse. If you have ideas about how to improve the ad next time, just edit my Google Doc that I sent out and add suggestions or comments here, and I'll incorporate those. I did one story. I didn't get good stats on it, so I'm going to try that again. That's a vertical video in the TikTok style, and that was a rehearsal video from 2 weeks ago. But I don't know why I didn't get stats on it. I have a draft design for the business card, and I'll show that to you in a moment. But I need to redo the logo because Larry pointed out that we have updated that since the version that I made. The QR code, we will still have one on the business card, and we'll just, if anybody wants to make a QR code for any site, you can just click this little share button and create QR code for free. And then that will go to that website. So I'm going to make a QR code that goes to the homepage of our main website. And if we go to peninsulaires.org, that redirects to the peninsulaires.com for now. We may standardize on peninsulaires.org in the future. But in any case, I'm going to use peninsulaires.org as the published advertised address of our website going forward for people. And on the homepage, I've been trying to keep it updated with upcoming performances and rehearsal information. We can also link this to the meetup site so that people can sign up and get engaged in the process that Elliot manages. So I still think that I would prefer all of our marketing materials for both performances and recruiting to point at one location, which is the homepage of our website. And then on that page, we can link to the meetup site for people that want to get more information that Elliot manages about that. He's also free to edit content on the main website. There is a Sing Outs placard we haven't been using. I keep meaning to get it when I'm at rehearsal, and I will try to remember this week. And I will make material that will fit in the slots on that thing so that when we sing out at like farmers market, we can have material people can pick up. And I'm also still planning to make physical business cards that we will have during the next month. I didn't get to it this month. And I updated the website with our vision and updated the homepage with the upcoming Sing Outs. The vision page is linked from the word vision up here now. And it has the version that we edited as the board and that was approved by the chorus. Okay, let me share differently now, if I can find it. One other thing. This is the ad that I worked on this morning, a flyer for the show. It's not quite done, and we need to finalize the details about pricing and timing, but this is my best draft so far.
That looks really good.
And I'm thinking we can repeat this kind of color and styling theme with some kind of show programs or placemats or something if we want for the show itself. And I'll try to make versions of this that can be used in social media marketing as well as flyers and postcard size things so we can have different versions of the handout for people. And then this is the business card that I drafted, but I need to update the logo, as we said, to use the version that matches what's on the shirts now, which uses a serif font and 2 whole notes instead of this. That is my whole report. Happy to have any feedback or questions.
I do have a question. So now we have we have thepeninsulaires.com and we have peninsulaires.org. Is that right?
That's right.
And peninsulaires.com, has anybody looked into whether we can get that or whether we should?
It is owned by someone. It is not listed as for sale. I don't think it's actively used, so we could probably go.
And
Oh,
just to complete
Dave
the
is
cycle,
talking, but maybe he's talking to someone else.
just to
Go ahead.
complete the cycle, what about thepeninsulaires.org in case somebody forgets which is which?
I could register that. I think it's like $30 a year for these .orgs. So it would be that same price for thepeninsulaires.org. If we're not going to actively use it, I feel like that's not important to add.
Okay.
So Mark, you had an item on your report that you didn't actually talk about, had to do with TikTok videos.
Oh, yeah, it's just a suggestion for members. Now, you may be anti-TikTok if you're worried that it's owned by China and you don't want it on your phone. That's fine. But if you want to be in with the younger generation, and we don't have a lot of representation of that on this board call, then download TikTok and make an account. And if you want to share a video on TikTok, I think that once you have some group of followers, then they may like amplify it and it might get a lot of views. So these are generally short videos, anywhere between 6 seconds and 30 seconds. They could be singing, they could be something funny. It could be you talking about the fact that this rehearsal is really cool with the rehearsal going on in the background. If you can do that in a way that isn't distracting from the rehearsal. That's kind of what I was intending to do with the videos that I filmed a couple weeks ago in vertical format.
Right.
But what about the Facebook clone of TikTok? You know what I'm talking? I think it's called Reels or something
the same
like
content.
that.
Yeah, it's called Reels, and the same content can be posted on Facebook as Reels or as Stories. Stories is like a series of short vertical videos, and Reels would be maybe longer form. And then when you're watching one of these Reels, it just kind of cycles and you see the next one, the next one, the next one. So it's sort of addictive. There's a version of that on YouTube also. Yeah.
So just to put something out there for you guys, Larry, I'm interested in what you have to say. I jumped in and I apologize. I had a conversation with Shiv on Thursday because I wanted to chat with him, and I asked him specifically. I said, what do we have to do as an organization in order to recruit more people in your age bracket into the chapter? Okay. And I think what Mark is talking about here fits into that concept, because that's a generation that is more acceptive of this kind of thing than maybe, you know, those of us who are, you know, in our 60s or 70s or beyond. Okay. And so this is really, I think, a cool thing. He has some other thoughts too, which I'll share at a different time. But I think what Mark is talking about here in terms of getting people to generate videos that are specifically on TikTok or Reels is really a great idea. Larry.
I agree with that. Regarding posting of stories or Reels or any of that, I would like to ask that we don't take photos or videos of our pirate set, as it will start showing up at rehearsals next week. I want what I've worked on to be a big surprise when that curtain opens. There are other members of the district that follow us on Facebook and other forums. I would like to keep our look as secret as possible. Promoting the show is certainly fine. Let's just please not use images from our actual set.
Sounds good to me.
Because the word is there's already been a bit of a buzz about, oh, so you guys are doing a pirate thing at district. I want at least the visual to be an eye-popping surprise when that curtain opens. So
Sure. Makes sense.
Great. All right, thank you, Mark.
Real quick on that, Larry, just point of clarification. Are you just asking for that up to the point of contest, but once contest is passed, we can,
yes.
Okay,
Up to contest. Once we're done with contest, we can do whatever we want, because as you and Mike know, we've talked about it. Our set's going to be a bit more elaborate for the show.
Yeah.
Right. I've kept it pretty
I,
basic.
I think the same argument about surprise carries, and maybe we should just discuss and be thoughtful about what to leak in advance of the show.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, real quick, two things. The TikTok format works really well for tags, by the way. And like I think having individual like character profiles on the Facebook like page could be a way to scratch the itch of there's something coming without ruining the surprise. So those are my 2 cents on those.
All right. Well, let's move ahead. Chapter development. Elliot, of course, is not with us. He did put out a little report on email. Did you guys get a chance to look at that?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks like progress since last time. A few more average people.
Yeah, and so I mentioned the new guests. There's like 5 new guests, 2 new candidates, and a potential new member, which is Skip Egley. So we're going to vote on him.
The
Is this
only
the
thing I was
good-
going to ask Elliot to do is to maybe keep the list of active candidates, not just new candidates, in his report each month, so that phenomenon I talked about of let's make sure we're advancing people through the pipeline, we'll be able to keep track on that. I don't really know how many candidates there are and who they are right now.
Well, I know Dave Leverins has been a candidate for quite a while, and I think it's time to get him to audition. And
He
move ahead.
mentioned to me, Terry, that he is intending to do his audition before the end of December, or excuse me, the end of September. He just hasn't, he's not quite ready yet. So that's what he
Okay.
mentioned on Thursday. And had a conversation with the lead, Randy. He's interested in moving forward too. We don't have a time for him. And I'm pushing, Elliot wasn't there this week, so I went over and I spoke to Eric, the baritone, I said, hey, are you ready? So he should be auditioning sometime before the end of September as well.
I wonder if we're setting expectations correctly for these guys. They may think that it's harder than it is. So in my view, we're only looking for them to show that they know how to memorize music, that they get most of the words and notes right, and that they can sing basically pitch accurate when they're the only one on the part singing in a quartet. And so make sure that when we're talking to guys about what the expectations are, we set them like that. Not that it has to be perfect
Yeah,
or 100%.
right.
I like the way Curtis and Mike did the audition last Thursday, where they sort of just listened to the practice and then they came up afterwards and said, okay, you passed.
Yeah, that's a standard pattern. I don't like the pressure of an audition because like the guys will like really build up a lot of negative energy around it.
Get nervous,
Yeah. So yeah, we'll keep doing that. The other thing is like for the guys who are on the risers consistently right now, like Wilson, Dave L. Dave L's in a pirate costume, so I'm like he's got to be thinking he's on the show. So like all the guys who are like coming, I don't know that we've converted anybody out of the Learn to Sing program yet. Like
Skip.
I'm thinking
Skip.
okay, Skip is the first one, but how long ago was that? That was like 10 weeks ago or something at this point.
Yeah.
So like everyone that's regularly on the risers these days are like in the running to be on the show at this point.
Agreed.
And to be
So-
at Fresno, honestly.
Yeah, since we have one more board meeting before then. Yeah.
So Dave, do you want to vote on Skip at this point?
I think let's just bring it up as, well, if you want to do it now, great. If it's new business, it's usually a new business thing, isn't it?
Okay, well, we'll wait till that then. All right, let's see. Don is not with us for program. So,
When he
Dave
keeps saying
K.
people are not with us, I get scared. Can you just say they're not here?
sorry about that. It should have been more positive. All right, so Dave K., you are with us.
I am here, yeah. Sent the my report out last week. I don't know if everybody had a chance to review it. I will share screen just in case you have not had a chance to look at it. You know, August was a decent month for us for performances. We had 2 of them. They both went pretty well. Neither of them were perfect, but we got good feedback from the audiences at both of them. As you obviously saw, Breaking Up and A Pirate King were the primary focus for what we were doing in the month of August. I will say that I think the guys have come a long way to being comfortable and reasonably confident in the 2 songs. I don't think that they are yet unconsciously competent. I think they're thinking a lot in terms of what do I do next on these songs, but hopefully over the next couple of weeks, we can, with enough repetitions, they will be at that point. I'm thinking that the coaching from Chris this coming Thursday can help us in that regard a little bit as well. Thank you, Larry, for building the set. This is awesome. So we've talked about this before at meetings, regular meetings, about the concept of what do we want to do with the characterization of our pirate costumes. And I'm hoping that as board members, we are taking this into consideration and upping the game. So it's not just a standard kind of look of a pirate costume. Let's go the distance. Last year, Larry had a Beetlejuice costume that was like phenomenal for like the set that we had for the Halloween. So let's just go for it, okay, and come up with really unusual looking costumes, because they're going to be things that the audience, whether the audience are the people who are in the auditorium at convention or the people who paid to come and see us at the cabaret show on the 5th of November, that's going to really enhance their experience of the event. So I'll be talking to you individually about that sort of thing.
Dave, I wanted to mention, I'm thinking about being a Pittsburgh Pirate.
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
In a baseball uniform, but I want to be sure that if someone else happens to already own that uniform, that would be a good idea before I go buy one. That's why I wanted to ask before I just published that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody say anything about that.
Nobody
So
said that? Okay, I'm going to claim that one, and that's what I will be.
Oh, good.
That's,
I like
that's
it.
kind of sets a very outside
Yes.
of the norm boundary. So I hope other people fill it in, or I'm going to look really stupid.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I like that. That's a great idea,
No,
Mark.
that's a great idea.
Okay, awesome. I guess the last thing here just to touch on is we're planning for the holidays already. We have to, because it's not that far away. We have these 4, Mountain View, Morgan Hill, Palo Alto, and Caltrain, set up as performance opportunities. We have a Morgan Hill definitely wants us. Palo Alto's Farmers Market definitely wants us. We have timing for those. Caltrain has not yet published their schedule, but we know that they will ask us. And Mountain View has not published its schedule, but we know they'll ask us. Larry is talking about the possibility of a tree lighting in the San Bruno area, but I don't know if we have the details on that yet, which is why it doesn't show up here.
No details yet, Dave. I talked to the coordinator, and she's handed it. Well, she's not the coordinator this year, but she's handed it off our information to this year's coordinator, and I'm just waiting to hear back from him.
Cool.
I made it very clear to Danielle that we need more than a week.
Yeah.
We need more than a week
You
to
think?
try to pull this off. So if you want us, you got to let us know soon enough so we can get it in our schedule.
Perfect. Thank you. So the music team had the conversation about what are we going to do for songs? And there are two different categories of song. One is the category that the entire chorus will sing and work on to make sure we can deliver at the level that the Peninsulaires are looking to be competent at. And then all the other holiday songs that can be performed by a VLQ or a quartet. And we originally talked about these 5, and then at the end of our meeting, somebody said, we got to put Jingle Bells in there too. So we have 6 songs that are ones that we will work on with the chorus. And so after the convention, we're going to be starting to incorporate some of this into our Thursday rehearsals. Not a primary focus until after we complete the show on the 5th of November. But if we don't start working on these until the Thursday after the 5th of November, we're way behind the curve. So we'll be introducing them maybe one a week or something like that, starting right after convention, and maybe actually one of them before that if things are moving forward very well with the show songs and the songs for convention. But that's the intent and the plan there relative to that. And that's pretty much what I have to say. Oh, I did have one other thing I want to mention here. It ties to the show, and it's a question for Dave Morley. Dave, Larry and I are going to be looking at things this coming Thursday at the Elks, because we need to find a place to stage or set the material, right? The props between rehearsals and between now and when the show is. I know you have a stall or slot there at the Elks location, right? You're paying for a but here's and you have a trailer, right? And I'm wondering if we might be able to use the trailer in the stall with a tarp on it to protect the stuff from sun and the weather while you're traveling.
The problem is, yeah, I guess you could. I do have a stall there at the Elks. The problem is getting the trailer out of where it is right now. It's beside the house, and it's very tricky to get it out and available, and I'm not there to do it. You can, I don't have any other ideas, but you really, someone would have to get into my house, open up the garage door, open up the side garage door, get the trailer out and get it over there. And that's not easy to do. Maybe Larry could do it, knows where it is.
Or maybe there's somebody else that has something that could serve, but that was a thought that I had.
I don't remember the actual size of your trailer, Dave, but I know exactly what you're talking about with regards to getting it in and out of there. How long is that trailer?
It's 5 by 8.
Okay. All right. I
also my car's in the way of pulling it out.
Yeah, I would be opposed to storing our props in an open trailer, even with a tarp on it. It just, the stuff won't hold up long enough. And the reason I asked about length is that these pieces are 8 feet long. So if we were to store them outside in something, they've got to be able to lay flat. We can't. Yeah.
Well, Larry,
Really not enough room in the main trailer?
Probably not, because we're actually consuming more space in the trailer than we are technically supposed to, and there are things that the Elks need to go in and out frequently because they have other events that the facility is rented for, and they store a lot of tables and stuff like that in there. And so the available space to have something, especially if it needs to lay flat, is a challenge at this point. That's why I was hoping we might find a way to use Dave's slot there, since it's available And if we had some mechanism for doing so, I don't know what that is.
The other option, I'm gone until October 18th or so. I have you lay it flat in my garage.
Oh, let me clarify something. If they were to be stored in a vehicle trailer of some kind, yes, they would have to lay flat. They do not have to lay flat in our storage shed at the Elks.
Okay.
They can certainly, we can line them up on the wall. We just gotta protect them as we
Okay.
roll risers in and out. I think that will be okay.
Okay, all right, good.
As long as we're careful.
All right,
Maybe
so-
there's a way we could make a bundle of them and then have them be on top of one of the risers.
No,
Where are they now, Larry?
they're in my house.
Is that a problem?
Yes.
Oh.
Trying to transport them every week back and forth would be somewhat of a challenge, especially on his motorcycle.
Oh.
Yeah,
That would look funny, David. That would
I think you could balance them on your head, right?
I could, because I could put the bow in the front of my bike and
Yeah.
my flag. Oh yeah. We'll figure
Guys.
it out. We'll figure it out Thursday.
two things. First thing, I think, yes, I think they should be stored down at the Elks Club. That's the absolute ideal. Two, we may consider temporarily renting some additional trailer space for them.
Understood. We're certainly gonna have to have something to transport them into Fresno, and maybe that's Larry's truck. I don't know. But we'll
They'll
figure
be
that
in my
out.
truck unless somebody's got a bigger truck.
All right, that's the end of my report, unless anyone has questions, comments, or
Why don't,
whatever.
I would, one comment, why don't you talk to the Elks? There's a, inside, it's a big place. There must be a, be able to, I don't think they take up that much room.
I have no idea how much room they take up. And until we actually see, because I haven't seen the stuff, it's possible to inquire and see if we can get some special opportunity. But until I know what we're dealing with in the way of space requirement, it would be hard to ask.
One last suggestion, maybe we could ask to keep them on the stage behind the red curtain.
There's about 4 inches between the curtain and the wall. So I don't know if that works.
I can make that work. So good thought, Mark. I'll look at that on Thursday.
Cool. And that's good. If you can do that, Larry, that'd be sweet. I didn't think that we could do it in that little space.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Ta-da.
All right.
All right.
All right. So do I hear a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
A second?
Looks like Mr. Morley.
All right. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, they're accepted. Thank you, gentlemen. Excellent reports. Old business, we actually covered the publication of the vision, mission, and culture. Thank you, Mark, for doing that on our website. The update for Far Western District Convention, planning and member registration. Dave K., you mentioned that we have, what, upwards of 35 or so folks that are registered?
We by the time we're ready to go, we could have that many. Right now, it's about 25, I think 27. But with a couple guys who haven't registered and the incoming members like Skip, and I know several others that are candidates that want to be able to perform there. Randy said he would. Unfortunately, Dave L is going to be in Colorado. I think Eric is looking to be able to do that, and we're going to push on what's his name, the other baritone, Stewart. That's not Stewart. Spencer. See if we can get Spencer to actually complete his activity and register and sign up, even if so that he can come. So we're gonna. If all that goes well, we could have somewhere between 30 and 32 guys, 33 guys.
Well, that's
I'm
great.
not sure when the price goes up, but you get it cheaper.
16th of September.
So if we can get them to be members before the 16th, then that would save some money.
Exactly. I sent out an email about that earlier today.
Great, good.
I'd be happy to call a special board meeting to approve them if we need to add that incentive.
Cool.
Great, good idea. All right, so new business. Well, why don't we bring up Skip's induction as a member? Do I hear a motion?
I move to accept Skip.
A second.
Second, any discussion?
So yeah, I'll chime in. I stand pretty close to him every week. He's been, he was one of the students at the vocal clinic back in May and June. Very enthusiastic. He has a decent voice. He's learning how to control the instrument. And I am hearing improvement on a weekly basis in terms of how smooth he can sing and, you know, and his, you know, just everything that we talk about in rehearsals, breathing, staying on the pitch. He ain't perfect, but he's making good progress. So I think he'll be a great addition to the lead section.
That's great. Thank you, Dave.
That was my impression. That was my impression as well. I stand pretty near him, and I was really listening to him before the audition, rehearsal audition that he did the other night, and his rehearsal audition. We were listening from across the room was really good.
What's Skip's last name?
Egley, Egley. His first name is actually James.
Okay, so we're ready for a vote. All in favor of bringing him into our membership, raise your hand. All right. Yay, new member.
Woohoo!
Let's see. The fall Peninsulaires show planning. Did the music team go ahead and work on that today?
Well, I've been working on it since Thursday, and I have a report update. So there are 3 key areas for which we have identified a project lead. Ethan is taking point to coordinate with the guest quartet. And I believe we've already been in conversation with them and are close to signing them. And I can't remember the name of the group. Mike or Curtis, you remember the name of the group? I don't remember the name of the group.
It's never, yep, never too late, Alarino.
Never too late. Okay. So that's a good thing. I've been working with Jerry and Paul Frudenthal in terms of getting some general information about what we're going to do for food for the afternoon and the evening performance, which is something I have to talk to the board about in general to make sure that we got approval to do both shows. But it'll be that as it may. And so that we have a little bit of preliminary information. They're going to provide, by the end of the weekend, the 3 of us are probably going to get together, or at least trade some emails, or maybe have a meeting to get a little bit more detail into the thing. But at this point, they are looking at sort of refreshments for the afternoon show, like cookies, ice cream, you know, stuff like that. And in the evening show, the kind of traditional stuff that we've done in the past, salad, lasagna, bread, whatever. And they're going to be brainstorming a little bit on what constitutes, how can we position things as, quote, pirate food, unquote, and we'll see where that goes. So those guys are working on that. The other thing, just a second, Mike, I'll come back to you in a second, Michael. And the third area has to do with the facility and staging and not staging so much as in design for the interior. How do we make it look like something cool, you know, and different and pirate-like? We're in a pirate cave or in wherever, okay? And John Wanless has agreed to take that on. So those 3 primary areas are covered. I'm working on the scripting. Mike O, Curtis and Mike C and I work this morning and during the planning meeting for Thursday, we did that real quick and started working on what are we going to do at the show, the sequence of songs that the chorus will perform. What are the VLQs and or quartets that are intending to perform, and where would they fit into the flow? So we pretty much have that done. And Dave Morley, the assumption is you're going to be out of town, I believe, on the 5th of November, and or your quartet would not be available. Is that correct?
Actually, of all things, Ramin has decided to get married on November the 5th.
Oh, well, there you go.
And he wants us to sing at his wedding. So I'm not going to be out of town, but I'm going to be singing at his wedding.
Okay, well, go for it. Way to go, Ramin.
Could you ask him to get married in the morning? And then-
All right, so
That means Al Ward won't be there either.
That's true. That's true. Al Ward won't be there.
good point. Good
All
point.
right.
All right, so anyway, we have the sequence of songs. And so now that gives me the opportunity to begin working on the scripting and the flow and all that sort of thing. So,
Hey, Dave,
Uh,
you have a name for the show? I made up one when I made my poster because I wanted to call it by something.
I did not come up with a name. I saw yours and I thought that's pretty cool.
High Seas Hijinks is what I called it, but we can invent whatever we want here if you guys have a different idea.
Okay. I know Larry's working on props. Yes, Larry.
I just wanted to let you know, stage, props, sound, lighting. I've got a volunteer who's going to be joining me.
Mark Wilson.
Mark
Yeah.
Wilson will be working with me on that, and I will be talking to Dave Kaufman to see if he's up for coming down from
Sacramento.
He's up there somewhere. I'll see if he's able to come down to handle sound and lighting for us.
Cool.
I know you're not done with your report, Dave, but Bert has his hand up.
Oh, yes, Bert.
Two comments about the food. Number one is this a year we shouldn't serve food in the evening because of the hassle, COVID and all that stuff. But if you serve food, the Elks have these cook teams that they put on. Maybe you hire one of them to cook, and they know how to cook. They know what to do, and they like to cook. So hire an Elks cook team.
Good idea. Good
It's a
idea.
very interesting idea.
Yeah,
I saw
great
Mike O's chat thing about scurvy and orange slices and that
That
sort of
was
thing.
the
So
other one, but-
that's really cool. Which is actually a segue for me into estimated costs to do this event. Are we ready to go into that now?
So I did
Sure.
have a question. What about alcohol? Is that handled through the Elks, or are we going to have?
That
wine?
is part of what I'm going to talk about next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and I also wanted to say that the High Seas Hijinks, I thought I had seen somewhere Pirates of the South Bay, which also sounded pretty good because the South Bay could be thought of as like a body of water. I don't know. I don't know who had that.
That's
but,
cool. You know,
it wasn't mine. It was somewhere on the Facebook side, I think.
so I'm just gonna give creative license to Mr. Torrance. I like that, both ideas. You guys come up with a cool name because you're gonna market it and that'll be great. And I'll just work on all the other stuff.
I like the hijinks one is short and kind of catchy.
All right, so that's what, now let's talk about costs, estimated costs. There are several things that we have to consider. And let me pull up the right spreadsheet. So what I looked at is there are things we have the rental at the lodge. We have to have insurance. I don't know what that's going to cost. If we are bringing in food, we have to have a caterer license. I don't know what that costs. And then, if we're doing food ourselves, you know, what that might cost and that sort of thing. I guess quartet, decoration, stage and props and marketing and printing. And I just threw some numbers together. The rental of the facility for the day will end up being about $3,000, but because I'm a member, I get half price. So it's going to be in the vicinity of 12 to 1,500 bucks for the usage of the facility for the entire day, for the kitchen, for the bar. Okay. Any alcohol or soft drinks to be served has to be served through the Elks, the bar there. Okay. And so that answers Michael's question. Yes.
Would we be allowed to take a profit on the alcohol?
Yeah, the way it works out is they, anything over $500 would be ours in the day.
Doesn't the BHS offer insurance to chapters for shows and things like that?
I have no idea. I was gonna talk to Al Ward and he would, and have him take
Okay.
care of it. Yeah, but that's, we'd have to have that. And then there was the Bert suggestion of maybe using one of the folks that are there, you know, they have these meal teams at the Elks, which is a good point. That's a possibility. And I'll inquire into that. If we're going to do our own thing, we have to figure out, these are the estimates that I got some estimates from Jerry and Paul relative to what it cost us a couple of years ago, right? And it was for the matinee stuff, it was about $9 and it was $13 for the dinner. And I figured we've have some inflation. So I was per person, so I bumped it up a little bit. And I don't know how many people we're gonna have at each one of these things. If we get 100 people, this is gonna be our costs. And depending upon what we charge for tickets, that would be our income, you know? Now, maybe we're only gonna have expecting 50 people per, I don't know. So we have to figure this out.
What's
Then
the
when-
venue capacity?
The venue capacity is 200 people at any one time. They can accommodate as many as 200 people at one time. Our guest quartet, I don't know what they're going to charge or how we'll be able to negotiate with them. We may be able to get them for somewhere between closer to 600 bucks. I don't know the answer to that. Ethan is working on figuring that out. Decorations, I've just threw a number in here. You know, we could probably do it for $200 or $300 to make it really cool and cavernous. I don't know what Larry's expenses are, and I don't know what the marketing expenses might be, but I threw a number in here. I'm anticipating it's going to cost us close to $5,500 to $6,000 if we're going to end up with, you know, 100 people and what all the food costs might be. So in order to, you know, depending upon what our prices are, I don't know, we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do here. If we get 150 people at each show, then we're going to have a hell of a lot more income, you know, but we don't know. So I needed to present this to everybody so that you could see what the thoughts are. You know, if we get 150 people at each show, we'll make a couple $1,000. But I don't know. And these prices, these values here may be higher than they will be. But that's what I have to present in the way of what I know relative to the show and its anticipated costs.
Larry,
Questions?
what's the budget for stage and props that you would ask?
Mark, right now it's just the expense that I've already put out to build the parts. Like I said, I've got a stack of receipts. I have not brought them together with a number. But I do anticipate building and preparing a few additional props to add to the mix for the show.
Can you guess a number to ask? here?
I'll try to get those numbers together after our meeting and send them to Dave K.
Yeah, I was thinking off the top of my head, it was probably somewhere between $300 and $400, but I could be low.
Right now, that's a fair idea. You can throw that. Go ahead and throw 400 in there for now, Dave.
So
And did we talk about the ticket price?
we did
already?
not.
Finalize that?
We did not. And that was another thing to discuss. What what is a reasonable ticket price for the show? I try to remember, what did we charge last year? Dave Morley, do you remember what we had as the ticket prices for the for the one show that the Halloween show that we did?
It was low. It was 20 or 25 bucks, I think, or 25/30. I don't know. It was pretty low.
Yeah. Is Dave still there?
I think he just dropped
Okay.
when you asked that.
So
Maybe if we emphasize the refreshments, we can justify a little bit higher price. I was wondering if we could push it to 30 and 40.
I mean, at some point, there's gonna be demand elasticity, right? I'm just wondering, because it looks like depending on how good a job we do at marketing and or how much people actually want to come out this year. I mean, we might not even break even. We're counting on 3,000 from this.
Okay, let me make a couple of comments because I've done a couple of cabarets. The first thing is if we're adding food, then it should be a higher price point. It's like from a product perspective, we are also providing an immersive experience. So like the quality of our product is increasing as well. Like my mental model is like 35 minimum for dinner. Yes, we're serving Costco lasagna. I don't love that meal at $35, but you're like thinking in terms of like we're doing dinner in a show. So I think we can look at a higher price point. The second thing is from a revenue perspective, like 5,000 in expenses for a show is challenging, but it's sort of, we have to think of it in terms of like if we're only getting 70 people for a show, then why are we putting in all the work?
Right.
Like we've got to be thinking in terms of like how do we get 250 or 300 people to a set of shows.
Right.
So
Mike, you may not be able to see the spreadsheet, but Dave's been updating it. I mean, yeah, Dave's been updating it as we go. Right now, we're at 150 for each show attendance, so that's 300. The total expenses, including food, is 7,600 now because we've added more people and we've added a budget for stage and props, and we've bumped the proposed prices to 30 and 40 for the two shows, but we haven't really discussed that yet. And we're now going about a $3,000 profit at the bottom line.
And the other thing we haven't added yet,
my thoughts.
the other thing we haven't added yet that we historically have done at the cabaret is have that sort of, silent auction kind of thing where there are stuff that people can purchase, or whatever, we made $600 or $700 off of that last year. But I didn't put that in here because we haven't talked about whether or not we're going to do that, which is another thing I wanted to ask the board as we move forward today.
Okay, so how do we move ahead?
Well, I just comment on the auction. There's no cost to the auction. That's just profit.
No, but I haven't put it in here as an opportunity for income because I didn't know that we had decided we were going to do it. But that's true, Paul. We were going to do that and we could anticipate what, $500 in profit there?
About 500. 500 is what we've made in the past. But we also need somebody to honcho that.
Yes, and I've already put out a feeler for that, but I don't know where that's going to go yet.
Okay. So
some
what's
of these expenses might be mitigated. I don't know. We're just gonna, maybe I can get a little bit better deal at the lodge. Maybe the guest quartet's only going to cost $600. Maybe the decorations we can get away with, these things would be less. But I'm putting what the high end of the range that I'm anticipating, so that we can see, there's going to be a little cost here too on insurance and catering license if we do food. And so it could be a little higher. This could be as high as, close to another $300 or $400. I don't know what the costs will be, but I'll check with the guys, but that's the data. So if we're real good and we pull off the, 300 people coming to our event, and I think, like Mike C was saying, the quality of our product has greatly increased over the last, since pre-COVID. And the immersive experience that we are preparing, could really just push it over the top. And as we clarify that a little bit more, Mark, what I'm anticipating is that we'll be able to put out some kind of, in our marketing, some kind of ticklers or things that might cause people to be real curious about, what does this mean? What are they going to do? I got to go check this out. So, and I hope to have more of that concept figured out here with the help of a few other people sometime possibly even by the end of the Labor Day weekend.
Thank you, Dave. All right, so the next item was the Q2 and Q3 barber shopper nomination. We're a little bit behind this year on that. Let me open it for discussion.
Q2 was April, May, and June, right?
Right. Any nominations? Got to be somebody out there.
Bert has a
Bert.
thought.
I nominate Jerry Valencia for the work he's been doing so far for the show, the technology, the bass section. The guy is a one-man tornado for us.
I appreciate that, and I'll let my dad know.
Oh yeah, you said Jerry.
Well, okay, we make it a joint then, Jerry and Larry both.
Well, he could be Q3.
Yeah, that works for Q3. Guy's been going super, phenomenal on this.
Okay.
That works for Q3. Is there anybody else on Q3? Q3 was July, August, and September. What else happened July, August, and September? We sent Mike and Curtis to Harmony U.
Harmony U.
I would nominate Dave Cokerhook. I think that he, filled in as a director, which is a unusual and rare thing for a third guy to have to do that job in a public sing out. That went pretty well. He's also just been a phenomenal contributor in terms of keeping us all on track and sending out all the emails and planning, the rehearsals and stuff like that. So that would be my proposal.
Great. And that's for Q3 or Q2. It could be either.
I'd say for Q3.
Q3. Any other? You got to do Q2 as well.
Q2 was April,
Yeah,
May.
the proposal for Q2 was Larry Valencia, I think, from Bert, and I'm
Was it?
proposing Dave
Okay.
K for Q3.
All right. So we've got,
So having said that, I'm going to is there anyone that's not a board member that we can think of that has contributed over the last, what amounts to 180 days, that we think might be worthy of this sort of thing? Yes, Bert.
The new bass, the guy with the long hair who did the music stuff, who rewrote the
Nick.
Pirates and that stuff.
Yeah,
that's
Nick.
Nick, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, Paul?
Ethan does an awful lot.
Ethan?
I was
Yeah.
thinking of Ethan, yeah.
Yeah. I like both of those suggestions.
Blaise for all the track wrangler updates he's done for us in short order.
Which we have done him in the past. He has been a barber shopper of the quarter. The two people whose names we just mentioned have not, so maybe that's something worth considering.
Okay. So we've got so far Larry for Q2, Dave K for Q3, and Nick and Ethan haven't been assigned to a quarter yet.
I'd say Ethan for Q2 because he's been kind of doing lots of stuff for us constantly. You know,
Okay,
he's been filling in on when Dave Morley is out on in terms of you know the pitchman and all that kind of stuff, and also Nick's stuff that he did recently has been was in this last quarter. So I think
this
that would
quarter,
work.
okay.
Yeah, and hey, on Ethan's side, I don't know how many of you know this to talk to Ethan, and this is kind of more of a almost a society thing. Ethan has been working his butt off over the last several months to try to collect as many recordings from international conventions as he can, and I mean doing like serious research to find recordings that nobody knew where they were at. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and his commitment to the Peninsulaires is super strong. I
Yeah.
spoke with him on this past Thursday specifically, just to kind of tell him how much I appreciate what he's doing, and also to, you know, give him a little kudos on some of the kind of stuff that he's been doing to help us. The guy is definitely an asset to this organization. So
I agree with recognizing people that are not on the board. I want to strengthen my nomination of Dave K one more time though, because we forgot to mention the quartet night.
oh, the
that we
festival,
planned
Oh, yeah.
and recruited external judges and bought all those prizes. I mean, it was a lot of effort above and beyond even the usual high intensity Dave K leadership of the chorus.
That's for sure. I agree with that, Mark. Okay, so we've got Ethan and Larry for Q2, Dave K and Nick for Q3. Should we double up on any of them? Select both?
no, I think let's try to go onesies this time around.
Okay,
Yeah,
well then
I prefer
let's-
singles instead of doubles.
okay.
Yeah, let's just vote.
All right, so for Q2, we've got Larry and Ethan. So those in favor of Larry, raise your hand.
I like Larry, but I'm also going to vote for Ethan.
Do we have one,
Two, you have two.
two? Okay,
Now Larry deserves a special prize probably, but I would vote for Ethan also, just spread it around a little.
I think that we may want to think about Larry at the end of the year too, and or for Q4 for this show work that he's doing.
Yeah,
that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, then let's go for Ethan. Who votes for Ethan for Q2? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3,
Six.
4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like seven.
Seven. Okay. And then for Q3, we've got Dave K and Nick. So those in favor of Dave K, raise your hand.
I'm abstaining.
6. And then Nick. Got 2. Nick. All right, so it looks like it's Ethan for Q2 and Dave K for Q3.
Don't tell him.
Yeah, it'll be a
Tell 'em,
surprise.
that's a secret, yeah.
Dana,
All right.
I will prepare the certificates for you. It'll be ready on Thursday.
Thank you. All right, so any other items for new business that we didn't cover?
Can I ask one more question on the show? Do we want to have physical tickets? I see Mike C's comment about getting guys to sell tickets. If it's all digital, that may be a little harder to track. We can try to track who referred you and keep track of that, but maybe Dave has this all taken care of in the past. I'm happy to design and print tickets if that would be helpful. And that's really a question for Dave Morley.
We went to all digital for the last show in October. They were real easy to track. However, there were some challenges. So I would recommend that we go back to a printed ticket. I
Yeah,
think
me
the
too.
guys, when the guys have 10 tickets in their hands that they can sell to people, it works better. And Mark, we do have a printing service that we've used for tickets. Templates are already there. We just got to plug in, and I can work with you on those to plug in the appropriate information.
Fantastic. Thanks.
So are we going to stream our show?
I don't think we should.
Okay, because that would be a case for digital tickets for people out of the area.
Yeah, well, the additional expense to have a video crew,
That would offset our profits.
that
Yeah.
would really take quite a leap to our expenses.
Hmm.
And I think it'll be digital or printed. Like you'll be able to just buy a
Right.
ticket on the website. If you don't get a physical ticket, that's still okay.
Right.
Yes, we
Oh, okay.
have done both ways, Mark.
Yes,
Good.
great.
But no streaming.
No,
Okay,
not this
No.
time.
Okay.
all right.
Dave, one more thing. I know you have to fill out the form for BMI for the show.
That would be Paul.
I found a form. It's a little different than the last form we did. But I got it off the website.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, no, it should be pretty much the same as we did for the spring show.
Yeah, yeah.
And-
What do I do with it?
You tell me how much it's gonna cost. I will mail you a check and then you send off the form and the check to the district secretary.
Tell you how much what's gonna cost, the tickets?
No, the BMI form,
Oh, the form.
the
So you
form.
have, they have a
I
price
think it's
schedule.
I think it's $56, but I can't, whatever the form says.
Yeah, I have it,
Just send me an email. Send
okay,
me an email along with your address. I'll write you a check and mail it to you.
okay,
And then you send it in.
okay.
Right. Thanks, guys. Co-directors, do you have things you want to share with the team?
Yeah, I got a couple of items here. One of which I brought up on Thursday night, and that is the opportunity to participate with the Cal State East Bay, or as it's better known to many of us who've been around a while, Cal State Hayward. The Real Men Sing program that they have that's focused at middle school and high school boys who are in choir. So the invitation that came to me from Buddy, who is the director over there, is that the performance is at 2:30, and he asked if we'd like to be a part of the performance as a chorus. I think that is a strong yes for us. He also asked if we would want to do some coaching with the boys or something like that from 1 to 2. That might be an opportunity for a quartet or something to that effect for coaching with the boys. Sorry, I just saw the flag coming to there. You caught me off guard. The coaching with the boys from 1 to 2 might be an opportunity to do some tag singing and things like that. Teach some tags, teach some performance technique. But I think that 1 to 2 time would probably be better suited as a quartet opportunity. And then if we can get 2:30, like in the costumes with as much of the, maybe at least the contest set, perhaps not the full set, but the contest set there for that 2:30 performance. I think that would be a very strong opportunity for us to reach out and to plant future seeds for these boys who are, once they finish high school and college, are going to be looking for somewhere to continue performing and singing.
I think that's a great idea, Curtis. I think we ought to jump on that.
I'm wondering if there are any online groups, like Facebook groups or other things that lots of these high schools musicians are part of already that we could promote in also.
Ethan, Ethan might be that kind of a separate issue, but I think Ethan might be the person to talk to on that because he's got a better hold on that. I just want to make sure that we are on board as an organization. I had already had some opening discussions with Buddy, but I told him I wanted at the beginning of this week that I wanted to bring it to the board to make sure that we were fully set.
The one thing that is going to be interesting. I know we have certain of our members who have a lot of flexibility in their schedule, and others who may not have quite so much. So I think we're going to need to get a feel for what our mix of voices could be. So maybe, Curtis, we ought to put out a, here's the thing, the plan. And okay, to answer Bert's question, it's the 3rd of November, Thursday, the 3rd of November. And just to make sure we get a feel for what the possibility of the mix of voices that can be there, so we know that we've got coverage in all parts and that sort of thing.
The other thought that came up, and somebody mentioned this on Thursday, and I thought that's an idea I hadn't even considered yet, because that Thursday is the Thursday before our show. So that would essentially be the dress rehearsal. Although that does potentially impact the stage issue like we were talking about.
Right.
Was I could ask if we could rehearse there after the show or something like that. And that might, I'm just throwing that out as a possibility to discuss. And in that way, if we do that, we could do the show, rehearse there for say 2 hours as our weekly rehearsal, maybe be finished. I think the potential would be that we might be finished by 5 on that day or something and call it a day, rather than doing the show at 2:30, finish up there at 3:30 and then have a 7:30 rehearsal.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous about that. I feel like we're going to want to rehearse our last dress rehearsal with the props, since we interact with the props in the show, and it is going to be a hassle to move them. We don't have a plan for that. And also, I think I would wait to see whether it's really the vast majority of the guys are available to participate during the workday at that
Yeah.
thing in Hayward, versus just keeping our normal dress rehearsal that evening in the normal venue.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Okay, so it sounds
Okay.
like the first item is to see if we can't get commitment to participate, and which voices and all that sort of stuff. So Curtis, did you want to put that in the calendar in Groupenizer, or would you like me to do that?
I can put it in Groupenizer.
Okay, cool.
There was a chat input from Mike C. about Glenn Jones. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that before we ended off too. I didn't ask Dana to put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I
So-
just saw it, so I thought maybe we should bring that up. Now,
Well, before you do that, I know Curtis said he had 2 things that he wanted to mention, and one was this thing at Cal State. And what was the second one? And then we'll finish off his thing and then go in before we bring on anybody else. Does that make sense, Dana?
sure, that's good.
That was the second item.
Oh, oh, okay.
Good segue. Okay. Who wants to present this?
So I'll start. Glenn has been a candidate. He's been with the group now for probably 4 or 5 months, I guess. Because he was there before we did the thing in Stockton, et cetera, et cetera. And he started out singing lead, and then he migrated over to baritone because of the range, I guess. And he has demonstrated, I don't want to say he likes things the way he likes things and is not particularly open to conforming to whatever the group concept is as to how we need to comport ourselves as Peninsulaires on the risers and etc. So there's in my mind a difference between inquiring as to why we do something and challenging the directives from our leadership relative to where we stand, how we sing, how we do what we do, and what we need to learn. And Glenn has a tendency to react and not respond to things, and it has tended to create some disturbance with a number of members in the organization, and it sort of culminated this past Thursday. So I have had several occasions to speak to him about things that I wanted to communicate to see if I could get him to be more accepting of the things that were asked of him, in terms of where you stand, how you dress for an event, how you handle yourself at an activity. But it does not seem to have resulted, in my observation, in a substantive change in the way that he comports himself at a rehearsal or at a performance. That's my comment. Anybody else?
I can add one thing. One of the performances, we don't clap for ourselves. Well, he was clapping, and so I commented to him. I said, "No, we've chosen not to clap for ourselves." And he said, "Well, I'll do whatever I want. I'll continue to clap. Thank you."
One of my concerns is that as the director, I've given him some really what is minor feedback in terms of just technique or something to that effect. And the response was aggressively out of character with the suggestion that was given. And that creates a real conflict that I feel as a director within the organization with somebody who's not a member, that's unnecessary. It's unfortunate, but we all make suggestions to each other all the time, and we do it with the idea of helping each other and fellowship and taking it in that respect. And it's okay to have a difference of opinion, but it's that reactive nature that is out of character with I think the core values of the organization.
Yeah, I know I won't spend a lot of time on what happened Thursday because I sent an email to all of you with my recitation of that, and feel free to read that if you haven't already. I feel very strongly there's two issues here. One is refusing to take direction from even our music leadership, and I take some, ownership of the fact that I'm not, formally music leadership, so maybe I shouldn't have made any suggestion to him about where to stand on Thursday that triggered him. But I think that it's a separate point which Curtis made of the nature of his reactions, and this has escalated to the point that he blurted out the same thing twice to me on Thursday in a way that left me shaken for 24 hours, and I don't feel safe in the same space as him. So I don't like making and this sort of it's him or me kind of ultimatum. I'm not trying to do that. It's not my place, except as one of the voices on the board, to say maybe this guy shouldn't be part of our chapter. But I will tell you individually that I can't be in the same room with him anymore because it got that bad for me.
Okay, if I may, let me put on my ex-chapter president hat for a second. First of all, I think we need to have a motion to like frame the discussion. May I suggest something like Glenn should be disinvited from the candidate program and from Peninsulaires events indefinitely, with possible invitation to return no earlier than mid-November. I don't know if you guys want to act on that or not.
Do you think that disinviting him will change him? I don't.
I think there should be a board motion before any further discussion goes, and then we open for discussion.
All right, well, I'll present that just as Mike C. stated.
I'll second it.
Could it be restated, please?
Sure. Glenn Jones should be disinvited from the candidate program and from Peninsulaires events indefinitely, with possible invitation no earlier than mid-November 2022. That's
Does
just a
that
phrase.
include rehearsal?
That's yes, all Peninsulaires events.
I would state it as events and rehearsals because an event
Okay,
is,
okay.
yeah.
Yes.
So the goal is to get something on paper so we can frame it. We can adjust it.
Right.
But
I'm not quite sure I understand the statement. What is the possible re-invitation, and what would be the trigger for that?
I don't know. Let's have the motion and then have the discussion. So have we had a motion and a second?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
Who were they?
Now,
Dana proposed, had the motion, and I did the second.
okay.
The discussion.
So I have some prepared comments I'd like to just blow through real quick. There may be a lot of context that people don't have, so some of this is shared context as well. For those, like we're sharing our Glenn stories. My Glenn story is at the baritone sectional on Tuesday. He was extremely disruptive and correcting me in my leadership of the sectional. I don't think anybody else was here. Wanless and Matt were both. Wanless, Matt, and Peter also saw it. But to the point of being extremely disruptive, telling me when I could sing lead and when I couldn't. And so it was an extremely challenging exercise as well. That's my Glenn story. Like some framing. Thursday night was an extremely hard exercise. It threw us out of the fabric for nearly 90 minutes, and some of us for much longer. I know there's been a few background conversations about it, but that was an extremely disruptive event. And it threw all the guys in terms of what was going on. So starting points. First off, I want to thank Mark for having the courage to ask, is this behavior acceptable? Whether independent of, I think we should applaud, acknowledge, and celebrate that. Like, if something bad happens, we need to be aware of it in the moment. So thank you, Mark. Second, want to thank Dave K, Ethan, Curtis, Dana, and everyone else who worked through the issues on Thursday night. We demonstrated excellent musical and organizational leadership on Thursday. That is something to be celebrated. I want to establish my position on the motion as written. From our culture statement. As individual singers, we are committed to improve our craft and take feedback well. I believe Glenn has consistently shown inability to take feedback well. Second, also from our culture statement, We strive to perform in complete harmony with others in the chorus. And I think we have multiple examples of disruption and disharmony in Glenn's attitude and behavior. So my position is in favor of the motion broadly. We can wordsmith it a little bit if we're concerned about the possible invitation. The other thing that I want to present to the board on this is a difficult topic. We are talking about terminating a member or a candidate, a potential singer, from being part of this organization. When facing a difficult topic like this, I think it's very important for us to ask, are we sure? And so as we are deliberating this, please consider the following questions. Did we provide clear cultural expectations to Glenn? Did we provide clear and sufficient feedback that Glenn's behavior and attitude did not meet our organizational expectation? And third, if we did not do these, is the board comfortable with this decision, with this motion, either because of the severity of the issue or because of Glenn's status as a candidate? That's the extent of my prepared statements. Thank you, guys.
Paul,
I would go along with this if everybody, else was along with it. But another possibility might be to suspend him for a period of time, say a couple of months or whatever, explain exactly what the problem is, clearly, and say if he wants to, if he's willing to improve himself, he could come for a trial period or something like that. I mean, just my thought.
yeah, and guys, I want to share with you, I have some experience with Glenn in a different setting. And I think he needs some help. That if we just kick him out, okay, which we probably should do, there needs to be some way for him to get help. And so I don't know how to do that right now.
Is your mention of him needing help, does that fall into our responsibility?
No,
Okay.
I think he needs professional help.
Dana, I think it's important to give as much detail as you can on that statement, especially given Mark's concerns about safety.
Okay, well, in another environment.
Sorry, one second.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know that anyone not on the board should be here for this call right now. That's an interesting statement.
Okay, so have we got Bert?
Terry Moore and Bert are the non-board members.
And Mike and Curtis.
I'll log off if you want me to log off.
Yeah, that's probably best. And
I'll be
Terry,
willing
I
to
don't
do
know
that.
where Terry is.
I'll be willing to do the same. I can say from experience that I have with family members that the responses that I have seen remind me of experiences and reactions I've had with family members who struggle with emotional illness.
Yeah,
In that the responses are out of character to what the stimulus was. So, and
Right.
I'm glad if I'm willing to log off with that said.
Okay, here's my
I prefer that
suggestion.
you guys stay on. You guys were deeply involved in what happened Thursday night.
no, I
Yeah,
think you as being the leadership should stay on.
Okay.
Okay, I'm okay with that as well. Like I've been through like sexual molestation cases as a board member, so like I have a lot of experience on that, and I will like just kind of help facilitate this, like just from an experience perspective. I'm doing this with very specific reasons because like there's some legal stuff around this conversation.
Sure.
That's why it may seem very formal, but there's a reason behind it.
Sure.
sorry, I will stop talking. You guys continue the discussion.
I would like to ask Mark to tell us about what took place, because from a Zoom observation point, I could see some things, but I certainly couldn't hear anything.
Yeah,
Can I also ask, Mark, could you specify in what sense you felt unsafe? Did you mean physically unsafe? Like he might actually injure someone?
so I will explain what I meant. Yeah, I sent an email to the board. I don't know if you guys got to see that, but I kind of did the play-by-play of what I did, of what happened on Thursday night. I'll do that again because a few people apparently haven't got it or read it. I was on the risers in a position near Glenn, or I guess I was in a position and he moved up to be near me in the same spot that he'd been the previous week. He was standing right behind someone else. So like the third row was very dense with guys, and he was not in a window. And I saw that the directors were busy adjusting the windows in other parts of the chorus. And I suggested to him, hey, you probably want to move to either here or here so you're in a window. And he looked me dead in the eye and got this kind of grin on his face and said, eat shit. And I was completely shocked at that. And I looked at him, I said, excuse me? And he said it again, eat shit. Now, this is a level of aggressiveness that I haven't experienced since I've been bullied in high school. My adrenaline surged in me. I didn't know what to do or say in the moment. This goes above and beyond any interaction I've ever had in this chapter in 18 years of barbershopping. I paused for about 30 seconds, and then I raised my hand and said what you saw on the Zoom, Larry. I asked the director after I got his attention. I said, this guy, and I pointed down at Glenn's head, just told me to eat shit. Is that in line with our values and culture? I was trying to look for some validation, look for some help from the chapter to like be with me, hug me in that moment somehow emotionally, and ostracize him or embarrass him or something. It didn't work in the moment, and I don't blame anybody. I think it was unrealistic for me to expect anybody's reaction with the shock of that to immediately somehow recognize what I needed and say it. And so I don't blame anybody for that. But I think Dave K eventually did say, no, it's not, from the risers. And then either before or after I decided to leave and walked off the risers, Glenn looked at me again and said, you're a bully. You're bullying me. Loudly.
Can I interrupt for a minute? I'd like to have Terry Moore. Would you log off? This is a board-only discussion. Thank you.
Sorry, Terry. Yeah, okay. And that was it. I needed to separate myself from the situation, so I walked down off the risers and left the rehearsal. I finally calmed down almost 24 hours later. I can tell I'm having a little PTSD about it myself still when I reflect on it and think about exactly what he said. But that's why I'm saying there's two issues in my view. One is inability to change, inability to be willing to take direction. And I experienced that also with Glenn at a previous occasion at the National Night Out when trying to give him coaching about singing baritone in that group. He wasn't as aggressive in his language, but he was refusing to be corrected on notes that he was singing wrong. And then I think that it may be the reason he was as aggressive this time with me was his memory of that past situation. And so even though this was a super tiny request from me that he find a window, and I think a pretty reasonable one for someone to make on the risers to someone else, it ended up being this kind of blown up overreaction. Now, talking about my feeling about safety, the level of intensity that he had in that aggressiveness towards me made me worry that he was going to punch me in the moment, or that he might get so mad at me, especially if we take action like to disinvite him from even one meeting, that he might come back and punch me or stalk me on social media or bring a gun to rehearsal. And I am actually worried about those things. I think that there is a non-zero probability of those things. And maybe I'm overreacting, but I ask you to think about how you would feel if this same thing happened to you from anybody, even if there was no history. And I think when you couple this with the history that I think Mike had said to me when we talked about it before the meeting, as many as 7 or 8 different guys in the Peninsulaires have had the same experience, including both directors and many of the people that are on this call, in terms of trying to coach Glenn and getting some disproportionately aggressive feedback from him, although hopefully nobody else, as extreme as what happened to me on Thursday. My feeling is I would disinvite him permanently rather than saying that we're going to be open to him coming back. I'm okay if we don't want to do that, if we don't want to take that step, or if we're worried that will trigger him more, saying that there's no chance of him coming back. But I have made the decision, and I'm not going to change my mind on this, that I will not be in the same room with the guy anymore.
I support you, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. No one should have gone through what you went through.
So
Mark.
let me, I have a couple of pieces of
Hey.
information.
Go ahead, Dave. But I do want to circle back to Dana's comments about past
understand.
experiences and stuff like that. Yep.
I understand. So, and I have 2 thoughts. The first thought is that it's interesting and odd to me. One thing pertaining to Glenn's status as candidate, in that multiple times, probably half a dozen times over the last 2.5 months, he's been there for like quite a few months. I know Elliot and/or I have talked to him about, say, so you've been a candidate, you've gone to a couple of these things. When are you going to audition? And he's not getting there for whatever reason. He presents that he knows certain songs, but he won't take that step, and that's an oddity to me. The second thing is, and not pertaining to Glenn, but we had a guy in our group some number of years ago. Dave Morley will remember him probably. I don't know about the rest of you guys, who was a real interesting fellow. He would come to rehearsal in his rollerblades and stuff like that. And yeah, Morley remembers. And he was a good singer. I can't say Glenn is a really good singer, but this guy was a good singer, but he was a bit of an odd duck. And there were some behavior things and other stuff that the board determined that we had to take some action. I was president at that time, so it fell on me to have the conversation with him. And, using the information on the back of the membership card about the 10 things, etc. I met him for lunch and we had a conversation, and there were a couple other things that came up during that conversation, one of which was that he had just been convicted of some type of inappropriate behavior tied to minors and stuff like that. So, and he was going to go in to serve time for something. So we agreed that he needed to disengage from the Peninsulaires, and after his 18 months, if everything was okay, he could come back and we could take a look at it. But that's been my experience with having to deal with something like this. So I know that these things can come up, and that as an organization, we have to find ways to deal with specific individuals that create a disruptive situation, because the chorus can't move forward in a organized and confident manner to improve themselves when there's a level of disruption that is significant like that. It's one thing to have differences of opinion about the music that we sing and stuff like that, but it's something else when there are personal activities that create a conflict.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And to answer Mike C's question about my experience, Glenn worships at the same church as I do, and we started singing in the choir, and a very similar situation occurred. And so he had to be called out. But what happened that was rather unique was that one of our pastors counseled him, and there was a chance for him to apologize and fess up to his behavior being unacceptable. And then the choir was asked, "Are you okay with his explanation, and would you welcome him back?" And we did. The behavior problem went away, but I don't know if that's possible with our group. Just it was a unique situation. So it's possible that there can be some healing, but I don't know how to do that in our environment.
I might feel differently in a few months if he came with an honest apology and then changed his behavior. At this moment, it's hard for me to imagine that even giving him the hope that like in mid-November it would be fine for him to rejoin is appropriate. But I'm open to trying to, maybe we take that as it comes and give him a chance at that point.
Mike?
Yeah, I was going to say, just the way the motion is phrased, I didn't understand what would be the possible criteria for inviting him back in November.
Michael,
we could...
let me just give 15 seconds on that.
Okay.
I wanted to drive the discussion, the separation of the termination of the candidacy and a timeline. So that was just a deliberate to drive the conversation to a specific outcome.
Okay.
I don't care about that detail. I wanted to make sure it got discussed.
Understood. Okay, so in that case, I might suggest an amendment. I don't know how exactly I would put it. I would maybe push the timeline out to 6 months to address Mark's point, and maybe say I think maybe that we wouldn't communicate that specifically to him. We would leave it open internally that if he were to take the initiative and try to commit to changing his behavior, that we would internally be open to that. But I don't know that we would suggest that to him.
Paul?
Well, I'd like to see if Mark, seems like Mark might be interested. If Mark and Dana and Dave and maybe our directors sat down with them and it just explained exactly what the problem is, and say you have your choice to either change or leave, because if he's really crazy, there are all sorts of possibilities you could think of. But I think that might be put it in front of him, because you said it worked. You said he changed at your church, so it's possible. The best thing would be to have him change, and Mark be safe.
Yeah, I don't think we can guarantee that change would happen in our setting.
No, but I mean that
Yeah.
Put it out there.
But I'm willing to sit down with him one-on-one and discuss this, but also provide some space of time where he would have to remove himself from us for a period of months.
Dave K has his hand up, and then Dave M.
So,
Okay.
so Dana, when you explained that there was a similar sort of scenario at the church choir, was that in terms of the challenge to authority, or the aggressive behavior to a particular individual?
Aggressive behavior to a particular individual,
Okay, thank you.
similar to what
I'm,
Mark
you know,
experienced. Right, Marley?
Dave, you're breaking up.
well, I'm sorry. I've got a bad internet connection.
You better.
I'm concerned with you doing it one-on-one, Dana. I agree with you I've had two or three instances with him that show that he's just not willing to be part of the ensemble that we have. And so I'm concerned with you doing one-on-one because I'm concerned for your safety, especially based on what Mark has gone through. I think I agree with you. He needs some professional help. And that's not our job to give it to him. But, I've seen enough instances standing beside him for the 2 or 3 months that I stood beside him, that he really doesn't want to take, he doesn't want to take suggestions from anybody else.
Right.
And that's what we do in our organization. That's what we do.
Larry?
My question about after Mark left the building, I believe Dave Kay sat down and talked to Glenn. I believe maybe even Curtis was part of that. Maybe Mike was as well. What was Dave? What was the conversation like?
I made an effort to get him to recognize that he is he's reactive and not responsive, so that when things occur, that he sees or hears something that he perceives as, for some way, shape, or form, threatening to him, and he lashes out, and that he has no way of knowing what the actual intention or objective of the communication was from the person that gave it to him. As a result, he's not responding in a proper manner. And I told him that if he can't adapt and adjust to the reality that you have to be empathetic to what's going on in your environment, that you can't just react, stop, take a deep breath, count to 10, and then respond, I would be the first person to tell him to get out, to leave, that he can't be here. Because I have had interactions with Glenn to a point where there appears to be a certain level of respect for authority there. And I just told him that if he can't conform and he can't adapt, that he can't be there. So that was sort of the gist of the conversation. I didn't sense that he embraced that. There was still that kind of, yeah, but, and the cockiness and that sense of that he has a perception of reality that if anything doesn't conform to that perception of reality, it must therefore be wrong. That's the sort I came away feeling that he was still in that mental space.
Okay, well, Harry.
Yeah, I haven't been personally involved with any interaction with Glenn, but just listening to all this, it seems like the repetitive nature of the behavior, the number of people that have been involved, he's been talked to, and I don't think our situation is analogous to the church. We don't have a resident clergy person or counselor, or it's just, and also with the proposal to, with a possibility of re-inviting him. If he is not present at any events or rehearsals for a period of time, I can't imagine what criteria we would have to re-invite him, because we just haven't observed anything. So I always like to give people a second chance, but just listening to all this, it just doesn't sound like he can fit in with the chorus. I think he has got a problem, but I don't think it's our responsibility to fix it, and I don't think we can.
It's a good point, Harry, and we're not in the counseling business. We're in the friendship and camaraderie business and singing together. So, well, I'm trying to figure out how to condense what we've talked about into taking action.
So let me add really quick one more thing, because this will help kind of drive it to action conclusion. This is very dependent on the status of the person, right? This person is not currently an approved member of the chorus, of the chapter. This would be a very different conversation if it was an approved member. Part of the reason of the candidate process is because this is because it's both a musical process and a cultural process, and a lens that could be considered for as you're making this decision is the men of good character phrasing. So take that into advisement. What I would suggest is to refine the motion if there's a desire to amend the emotion to either adjust or remove the phrasing around bait, to make that amendment, and then to vote on the amendment, then talk about the execution of the communication around that decision.
That's a good idea.
So I would move to amend what we're discussing. I would move to amend that as a candidate, he is no longer
So somebody read the
phrase
read
it
the
however
phrasing.
you want. I just feel like it's time. It's time to just cut them loose and don't open the door for a return. It's not our problem. And I got emotional listening to what Mark had to say. Yes, Mike C and I talked about it on the phone last night. We can't have this stuff happening, fellas.
So could somebody read the motion as it's currently worded?
Oh,
I don't have the whole thing, but I missed some of the end, but it's disinvite him as a candidate in our program and in events, disinvite him as a candidate, and keep him from events and rehearsals, something like that.
Okay, so I think
Okay, the motion that, real quick, the specific wording. Glenn, the motion that Glenn be disinvited from the candidate program and from all Peninsulaires events indefinitely, with possible invitation to return no earlier than mid-November.
So I would propose an amendment to the wording that it says rehearsals and events. And I would not, and I'd leave it right after that Glenn Jones be disinvited as a candidate to any Peninsulaire event or rehearsal, period.
and leave it open-ended.
And just not
I
put anything
second-
else, not put anything else in there about anything about November or anything like that. It's just like he's not invited.
I second the amendment.
Okay, 1 second. Let me, Paul, I've got it right here. I'm going to do your job for you for 10 seconds here. That Glenn be disinvited from the candidate program and from Peninsulaires rehearsals and events indefinitely, period.
Period.
I'm going to suggest one more. You guys need to. I don't like some of the motion taker is supposed to say yes, I approve the amendment. The motion maker, whoever did that.
That
I
was
did.
Glenn, but I think Mike O had a comment on that. Mike?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that I like the choice of the word indefinitely rather than permanently. I mean, we can remember that we aren't necessarily making a decision that's binding on us for all time.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
somehow, and I don't know how this would happen, but if somehow circumstances changed, we could always revisit it.
Yeah, yeah. I like that indefinitely too. That's a good point.
Paul,
Well, I would like to see the group, the leadership group, sit down with him, Dana, Dave, the directors, and then lay this all out to him and judge from his reaction. And, you know, Mark could be there too if you wanted. Judge from his reaction if he's dangerous. Just lay it out.
I don't think we have the tools to figure that out.
Well, sure. I mean, why not?
I thought a lot about this, Paul, and I don't think that there's anything we could do, even if we decided that he was dangerous. We're not going to lock the rehearsal doors. We're not going to move to a non-public location. We're not going to hire an armed policeman or ask our members to open carry. So I think I know I raised the issue of that, and I think that's just a chance that we have to take. Given the situation, it could happen to any group that has open rehearsals.
Yeah.
Cool. So
You know, you hear about a guy coming in with a, you know, AK-47 or something, and
yeah, it wouldn't change the complexion of things, Paul, in the conversation, in my humble opinion. But I do want to refer to one thing on the back of the Code of Ethics here, Dana, that if there's a conversation, item 5 says, we shall exhibit a spirit of good fellowship toward all members and strive to resolve any conflicts with civility and respect. And that's clearly not something that has been, that has occurred. And there's been a repetitive scenario relative to that, and which then makes it a challenge for us to continue to consider him for possible participation with the Peninsulaires.
Yes, and we're
That's
talking about something that came to a head. This all came to a head Thursday night, but let's not forget the previous months and the issues with.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
The whole point is that this is more than just one thing that took place. This is something that's been going on for a while,
Right.
and it should make it fairly simple based on what we've been discussing to make the move.
Right.
I
I
want to
think
make
we
one
need-
last comment. Mike made the comment that this should be easier because he's a candidate and not yet a member. And maybe, but I would argue that if it was a member, I would hope that we would reach the same conclusion. Like, this is not a safe thing to allow a person to be this disruptive this many
Right.
times toward people in the chorus.
Yeah, I agree. So guys, we got to wrap this up. I have a hard stop in 10 minutes.
Okay,
Get out of here.
So Dana, you have to accept the amended wording of the motion. Do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on the motion?
So all in
I move
favor,
we approve the amendment.
and second,
Larry?
Larry, all in favor, raise your hand. Paul, you voting? I can't hear you.
I'm not in favor of it.
Okay, that's fine. So all opposed? All right,
Right, so the amended resolution is passed. And then the next thing is going to be how we communicate it. So I think we can take that offline.
No, we
So
have to
we only
vote on the
approved an
motion.
amendment. We didn't approve the motion as
Yeah,
amended.
we have to vote on the motion.
Yeah, do that one more time.
Okay,
But I would like to hear from Paul just before we end, since he voted against that. What would you prefer that we do?
Well, this leaves me uncomfortable because I don't know what he's capable of. One. Number two, I think he deserves it and we deserve it to face him with it and give him the choice of change or leave. It's simple.
I'm going
Well-
with track record. He's done enough over the months to dictate an easy removal from our organization.
Yeah.
I will make one comment in that I don't know that any of us have ever said what Paul said, change or leave, your choice. I did at one point when something that he did with me when we were talking about something, I said, look, if you're not happy with this, you don't like it here, fine, just leave. You don't have to be here. I didn't put it to him as if you don't change, you got to go. But I did have that one exchange with him some months ago. But I appreciate the perspective that Paul has. So I don't know what else to say other than that.
well, we need to,
I think his behavior has been shown to multiple members, myself included. If it was only one person, then I would question and I would agree with Paul. But this behavior has been shown to me, to Dave, to multiple people, and certainly to Mark,
To both directors.
and both
Yeah.
directors. I mean, if it was only one person, yeah, I'd say let's be gentle, but I just don't, I think we should move forward with the motion.
It's not a matter of being gentle. I think we have to protect ourselves. That's all.
I'm not entirely clear on why that's safer.
Well, because he's making the choice. I mean, and if he goes up.
well, Paul, he would still have to stay with us
Well,
and demonstrate it, so that wouldn't work.
Well, have him, leave for like a 2-month period or something, and if he wants to come back, he can talk to the board or something like. I don't know.
Well, that can be done outside of this agreement.
I think that's part of the discussion did come up about the wording, whether it was saying permanently or indefinitely. And
So-
Indefinitely.
So the
Yeah.
way to proceed, I think, is to indicate this has come up. Here's what the board has observed and seen, and therefore they've taken an action here. Now, there is a way for you to change your approach to the participation in an organization like this by virtue of doing X, Y, and Z. But between now and the end of November, when we have to focus on this other scenario, you've got 90 days. Think about what you want to do and come back and talk to somebody. Check with, talk to Dana or somebody and see if you think you might have a different perspective on participation. Maybe that's how it's approached. So we have to take action, and then we can explain that the wording gives him a way to adjust the way he interacts with the organization or not. And we're not, because that was a good call, Mr. Michael, in terms of the indefinite thing as opposed to permanent. So good.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to people?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Mark, you said we have to
We
Yeah.
have approved amendment, so what we have now is a motion that just ends with the period and that uses the word indefinite. Mike C has published the the final amended motion in the chat, that Glenn be disinvited from the candidate program and from Peninsulaires rehearsals and events indefinitely, period.
Okay, and so that's the motion. Who is seconding it?
Well, I'll second it.
Dave Morley.
Dave Morley. We've already had the discussion. All in favor, raise your hand. Paul is still abstaining.
I still don't understand what's
That's
happening.
It's okay.
Because Dave, you made.
It's
You made a
okay. You
statement.
vote no. You vote no.
Okay.
All right. Guy, this is a heck of a way to end a board meeting. I've got 5 minutes and I have to go.
Go to the chapter.
Go to the chapter. Let's roll through it. So Mark, would you start out?
Thank you to all those of you that called me and had my back on this. And you know, I'm still kind of shaken, and I hope that things go smoothly from here on out. I'm glad that I will be able to continue to participate for the near term, and I'm excited about getting to rolling up my sleeves and doing new marketing stuff.
Thank you, Mark. Harry.
Yeah, well, I'll just say it's exciting to look at all the preparations for the show and for the convention. Unfortunately, I won't be at either event because travel plans and other commitments that I had made, but I'll have to enjoy it vicariously. But best of luck to the chorus for a successful and profitable show and for a fun time at the convention.
Thank you, Harry. Dave K.
I'm excited about the show. I was interested in you know, kind of had a little level of anticipation that it was going to be a cool thing. But now that I've got some people ready to do some things and we've defined how the flow is going to be, I'm just chomping at the bit. It's going to be awesome. Thank you guys for your support. We're going to have a fun time.
Okay. Actually, I've got a split in a couple of minutes, so
You want to give me hosting,
I'll give you the hosting.
and then you do yours, Dana, and then I'll let the rest of the guys.
Yeah, let's see.
Is Dana frozen?
No,
Oh, no, I'm trying to get my participants thing. Oh,
I'll
here
go.
it is.
I'll go real quick because I want Dana to hear mine, and it's super fast. My statement: an organization's bones are not seen in the good moments, but rather in the tough moments. This organization has good bones. I want to thank you all